Madam Speaker, we are told today that we are going to vote on a continuing resolution with another bright, shiny object attached to it. I feel like this legislation is insincere and unserious. Now, why is it unserious? Well, it's unserious because we're cramming all government spending into one bill, and instead of deciding what to spend on, we're saying, well, let's just spend at least as much as we spent last year and not worry about running any of these bills through committee or debating how much we should spend on things. It's also unserious because we've spent 2 years uncovering deficiencies in our government. We've been stonewalled by the FBI and the DOJ. That familiar refrain, oh, Mr. Congressman, that's the subject of an ongoing investigation, and it's our longstanding policy not to comment on that. Well, you could say that in a press release, but they shouldn't be saying it to Congress. But they get away with it because we don't cut their spending every time they do that to us. If we would withhold the ink cartridge for one printer at the FBI, they would come to heel. Yet we're not going to do that in this bill, this continuing resolution. It's just unserious. It's also very insincere. It's an insult to the American people. It's an insult to their intelligence to bring this bill to the floor because it sets up a fake fight that we all know here is fake. Somebody come down here and tell me it's not fake. You all know it's fake. And here's what's even more insincere about it. The compromise has already been reached in a smoke-filled back room here. They already know what we're going to do. It's going to be a clean CR when we get to September 30th. And what is the deal they've reached? It's the same deal they reach every year. We'll let you spend a few billion dollars more if you'll let us spend a few $billion more. When in fact, what we should be doing is correcting this country's course. We are on a course to financial ruin. And I ask my colleagues, when history looks back, how will it judge you for what you do today on this vote? Will it say, oh, well, this is a person who was unserious and insincere, and instead of making the tough arguments and having the tough discussions with their voters, decided to go along to get along on the path to financial ruin? Or will you be one of the people who stands up and says, this is unsustainable, we must stop it, I will not engage in a fake fight, I will not be part of this political theater, and will you stand your ground? Will you be one of those people? I hope you will. I urge my colleagues to vote no on the continuing resolution with the fake shiny object attached to it, and I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Massey.
Well, hello there, partner. Go on and hang up your hat, grab yourself a whiskey, and pull up in the easy chair. We're coming off the range of 9 to 5s with a whole herd of news stories that we've been steaming over like a cow patty in the Texas heat. As they say, the chickens are finally coming home to roost. And we're here to ruffle some feathers and ensure accountability ain't just a concept, it's reality. It's that time where the day's drama casts its longest shadow. So let's light a candle to the chaos of current events, the whirlwind of politics, and the tangled webs of corruption that we find ourselves entwined by. It's time to ramble our way into the twilight. Welcome to Sunset Rants.
Going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to Sunset Rants, where we catch you up with the breaking news headlines and posts to get you caught up at sunset. I'm AK, your favorite guy. We've got the bold, the beautiful Elizabitty here tonight. How you doing?
How you doing, Roma? How is everybody? I'm doing great.
Everything's good. Everything's good. You know, it was kind of a slow morning, and then out of nowhere in the midday, there was like 3 or 4 things that kind of piled on top of each other.
Yes.
So we kind of had a hard time trying to figure out how we were going to do the show tonight. But I think we came up with a consensus, and I think everybody's going to like it.
Yes.
But anyways, before we get started, you guys know me. You can find me on X at @therealroma_AK. You've got Biddy over here at Elizabitty213A. And yeah, you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. So before we start, we do have a Discord that's open to the public. The description's in the Rumble chat below. It's where you can chat with your hosts and send us news and articles that you want to hear on the show. Also, our new website is up.
I love it.
That's right. That's the Rise of Middle America Network, where you can see our most recent content, news, rants, deep dives, as well as up-and-coming content that you don't want to miss. So, if you want more breaking information like this video that my co-host Scrapjaw made that got over 40,000 views this weekend in Springfield, Ohio. Yes, and counting. It's still going. We have a donation link at the bottom of the page where every dollar goes to creating content for all of our viewers.
Yes.
So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe and help your host take this show to the next level. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that beautiful face.
That side profile.
Hey, there's Biddy right there. It's awesome.
Yeah,
all
man.
Right.
Those on-the-ground reporting is so important. So if you guys want to support that, you know, we'll bring you the news you actually want to hear, the news that they're not telling you.
Yeah, we'll be traveling a lot around the country in the upcoming months, just trying to figure stuff out and give you some election updates, give you some other updates in cities that you never even thought. So again, like I said, like, comment, subscribe, join the Discord, go ahead and visit our website, and if you want more content like that, please donate.
Yes.
All right, let's get this music down real quick, and then we're going to go into, let's see, the first story tonight. As soon as I get that up, there we go. This is from The Hill. This is from Thomas Massey. Johnson's spending plan is an undead but doomed zombie. Let's see what he has to say. Representative Thomas Massey of Kentucky knocked Speaker Mike Johnson on Tuesday after news broke of the GOP leader's plan to bring up a funding bill for consideration this week, despite opposition from members of various factions across the conference. Quote, like an undead but doomed zombie, the CR plus Save Act is back. Massey wrote in a post on the social media platform X. Speaker Johnson is fake fighting by attaching a bright, shiny object that he will later abandon to a bill that continues our path of destructive spending. He added, I won't be any part of this insulting charade. I am a hell no. You guys already saw in this first video that we did before the show started. Yep. Thomas Massey is that dude.
Yo, he is the OG gangster, bro. Like, every time he's up and he's talking about something, it's not just a lot of fluff. You know, it's not just like him, you know, pounding his fist and saying something that'll get the crowd like, rah. It's stuff with substance. It's stuff that nobody has the stones to come out and talk about. And he actually mentioned that when he was on the Timcast show, and he talked about when you first get into Congress, how many people come over to you and start, you know, saying, oh, well, you got to be part of this committee. You got, you know, if you want to be part of this committee, you got to talk about this stuff and you got to talk about that stuff. So he kind of hinted at that kind of, not hinted, he pretty much said it outright. You know, this is what happens when you get into Congress. And because he's not one of those people that engage in that kind of sort of thing, he is able to speak freely. And, you know, my favorite part was when he said, you know, any one of you want to come down here right now and tell me this isn't all theater, like that this isn't fake, you know, like the arguing. Man.
Right. And the main thing is, like, you know, what is Mike Johnson scared of? Like, what is he afraid of? You know, is he compromised?
That's a very good question.
You know, and most importantly, what are his constituents thinking about this decision? Because, quite frankly, I think there's something going on. All right, and let's go to this next article here, because you guys need to understand what the SAVE Act is. All right. So let's get into that. Says right here, passed the House on 7/10/2024, Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, or the SAVE Act. This bill requires individuals to provide documentary proof of U.S. citizenship in order to register to vote in federal elections. Specifically, the bill prohibits states from accepting and processing an application to register to vote in a federal election unless the applicant presents documentary proof of U.S. citizenship. Further, the bill 1 prohibits states from registering an individual to vote in a federal election unless at the time the individual applies to register to vote, the individual provides documentary proof of U.S. citizenship, and 2 requires the state to establish an alternative process under which an applicant may submit other evidence to demonstrate U.S. citizenship. I didn't, when I was in high school, I didn't think it was that hard to get my license, to get my to get the right to vote in my first election. Right. Like it wasn't that hard.
It's not. And I'm not laughing because this is funny. I think I'm laughing because I'm like delirious at this point. Mm-hmm. That this even has to be something highlighted. That the fact that they have to all come together to put this together to have this as a thing. That we don't have this already as something solid that we can feel, that there's integrity in our elections. And, the fact that they've gaslighted us for so long about whether or not there was, we did have safe and fair elections. And now we have all of this hubbub over the past, whatever months or so. And it's like dragged to the 11th hour right before, one of the biggest presidential elections probably in our time.
Right. And then, additionally, the bill requires states to remove non-citizens from the official list of eligible voters, so basically clearing their voter rolls. The bill allows for a private right of action against elected officials who registers an applicant and vote in a federal election who fails to present documentary proof of U.S. citizenship. The bill establishes criminal penalties for certain offenses. Here we go. Mm-hmm. But now we're getting hot. This one right here. All right. The bill establishes criminal penalties. Stop it. Why is it doing that?
It's trying to mess with you. It don't want you to read it.
I know, right? It says the bill establishes criminal penalties for certain offenses, including registering an applicant to vote in a federal election who fails to present documentary proof of U.S. citizenship. Right there. Mm-hmm. That's why. I think that right there is the reason why they don't want this passed, because then they have to be held accountable for their actions if they are part of that chain of command that allows those things to happen.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. You might be right on it right there. I mean, that makes total sense, because the accountability is always the thing that's missing from a lot of the bills passed. They say they push a lot of stuff when they're trying to pass a bill, but whether or not anybody is going to enforce it, whether or not things are going to actually be, executed is a whole other story.
Exactly. So if we're going to go ahead and give ourselves a reason why this needs to be passed, or why they want this passed, let's go into the AP. The court rules nearly 98,000 Arizonans whose citizenship hadn't been confirmed can vote on the full ballot. All right, let's see how they weasel their way out of this one. All right, so this is from the Arizona Supreme Court. Unanimously ruled Friday that nearly 98,000 people whose citizenship documents hadn't been confirmed can vote in state and local races, a significant decision that could influence ballot measures in tight legislative races. The court's decision comes after the officials uncovered a database error that for 2 decades mistakenly designated the voters as having access to the full ballot. The voters already were entitled to cast ballots in federal races, including for president, Congress, regardless of how the court ruled. So I'm guessing what they're saying is, if you've already allowed them to vote and you screwed them over, you can't screw them over now.
Right. You can't just say you can vote in this election and not in these other ones, or the local ones. Yeah,
because they've already accepted those results and not taken any action. Mm-hmm. So that sets precedent.
Right.
And I think that's what they're saying here. Now, for the future, maybe that's different. But for the people that were already here, it's kind of like it's like the Dream Act.
Yeah.
Where you have kids that cross over the border when they're children. When you're 6 years old, yeah, you're breaking the law, but at the expense of your parents.
Right. The sins of the father and all
like,
that.
What are they going to send you to jail because you brought your parents over? No, that's not how that works. So I kind of get like where this kind of came from, because now they're pretty much stuck with whatever they've been stuck with, which is part of the reason why I think they didn't really push as much with Kerry Lake, because they knew that they were going to lose this at some way, shape, or form going up the ladder.
Yeah, that this was on the docket. Yeah, because Arizona, if I'm not mistaken, was the first. I was trying to look it up. Was the first state to impose documentary proof of citizenship requirement back in 2004. So that's what they're talking about in this article when they say like it's been decades, that they had that kind of thing in place, and it was something that they needed to iron out.
Right. Yeah, and it's basically Georgia 2.0.
Right.
Right. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, Mike Johnson had to avoid a shutdown at all costs. So in order to do that, sometimes you have to compromise things that you really don't want to compromise. But it's clear that this was like a red line for the Republicans. So
yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
I know people, labor laws and things like that, we don't want people working 24/7, but do they meet seeing as how we have so much to clean up, do they meet every single day? Brian.
I never learned to read. No, no, that's what. So
really, do we really have to always wait until there's a government shutdown possibility? Like, come on.
They do this every September.
Right.
Every September.
Like, procrastinate much?
They do nothing for the entire year, and then it's like, okay, now we're just gonna cram these 26 policies all together.
Yeah, and I'm not saying. Listen, I'm not throwing shade because I'm a procrastinator. But I'm not a representative of people in this country. I'm not in charge of voting on bills that shape this country and put laws into place. So yeah, I'm gonna hold you guys to a higher standard. No procrastinations. Thank you.
Exactly. Because this is why the SAVE Act was created. Because how many other states now are going to go with this precedent?
Yeah.
How many other state Supreme Courts are going to go with this precedent? Like,
right.
It's too late now. Let's wait till, the next election, then we can figure something out where you guys can procrastinate for 4 years. And then after that, we're going to do this all over again. Like,
that's right.
At some point, somebody's got to put their foot down, because it's made to override the current state issues. Clearly there's an issue. I'm not saying that it's in every state. What I'm saying is that in certain states, there's clearly an issue with voter rolls.
Right.
And they've allowed this to go on for so long that now we've had people voting in these elections that should have been voting in the first place for like 5 elections.
Right.
And now all of a sudden they're surprised that their courts ruled the way that they did.
Right.
So I mean, what? I can't help you.
Right. No, you're absolutely right.
But like I was saying, think about like the FDA, the IRS, the ATF, the SEC. They've got different agencies in every state. So why can't we have a board of elections in every state? We can have those things trying to incrementally eat at our rights every single day, but yet oh no, absolutely not. You have
anything that holds the accountability in the other direction is always an afterthought.
Exactly. Because you have to have an ID to buy alcohol, you have to ID to buy cigarettes, you have to ID to get car insurance, you have to have an ID for all this other stuff.
Go to the doctor. I'm like, bring your insurance card, your photo ID, like it's part of my spiel.
Exactly. But this, oh no, it's okay. You don't have to worry about that. It's just voting.
The more the merrier.
Who really cares about voting? Who really cares about, the
Right.
direction your future is going to go? It's
Right.
Who's spot? Anyways.
For real.
Right. Now, here's one other thing that I was thinking about is that, by golly, we're talking about the budget, right?
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, somebody always seems to come around when your paycheck is due. Who do you think that is?
Oh, I remember him.
Oh, this dude. All right, so we got Ukraine Zelensky, this is from the Communist News Network, arrives in the U.S. to present victory plan to defeat Russia because, hasn't defeated Russia in the last 4 years.
Right.
So let's go with the video here. I'm going to go ahead and start with this.
Let's get right to the main event. My exclusive interview with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. We met Friday in Kyiv, and I wanted to first understand how he saw the current state of the war. Mr. President, pleasure to see you again. One more September in Kyiv. This one feels like it is happening at a very important moment on the battlefield. Ukrainian forces went into the Kursk region in Russia. You've taken a large amount of territory there. Has that worked? There are people in Ukraine who worry that you took forces away from the Donbass and that those lines are now fragile and weak, even though you have achieved success in Kursk.
Thanks so much. And thank you for this possibility to speak and for it. So, first of all, we had very tough situation on the east, especially on the east, in Kharkiv region, in Donbass region, in some of this direction. It's Vuhledar, it's Pokrovsk, it's Myrnogorod, it's a lot of different cities. People know about only Pokrovsk, but you're right that the situation was very difficult. And they moved very quickly because we didn't have equipment. Again, when we speak about equipment, how to equip brigades, really between us, it doesn't matter how many brigades stand on one direction if half of them not equipped. So you just lose a lot of people. You lose people because they are not in armored vehicles or in something like this. And they don't have artillery, they don't have artillery rounds. To compare the number, Russia uses 12 rounds. We used 1 to 12. That was the difference. Of course, the idea with the Kursk is a risk operation. It's true, we understood it, but the idea was to move some.
Okay, so
Thank you.
Yeah, I know. I'm sitting here, I'm like multitasking, and I'm like, this guy's talking way too much.
Yeah.
All right, so
he's gonna say the same thing over and over again. We need money. He's gonna get it like tattooed across his forehead or something like that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No. Go first.
It's just always the same thing. It's like speaking words, lots of words, making something that sounds like a reasonable argument that everybody can hear and say, okay, here, take my money. Let me get my wallet out. But because he's like, oh, what's the point of having, a base over here? Or, I'm probably saying
I'm not
the wrong
posting that,
word.
Annie.
That's probably what he really wants to spend it on.
Yeah,
that's really, not gonna lie.
If you guys want to see what she said, go to my YouTube chat. You'll know.
right, exactly. But it's like, okay, but we need more money, we need more weaponry, we need more this, we need more that. And again, he's trying to make that reasonable argument, but it's like how much you want that forever war? Like how long do you need to win this war? You keep saying you're gaining ground, like you keep saying that this is working. You probably bring in a PowerPoint marketing presentation about how you're going to be able to, if you get this amount of money and this amount of weaponry, how you're going to be able to defeat Russia. Like, do we really believe that that's going to happen? Is this just how long is this going to go on?
Yeah, exactly. Because it's an ammunition plant. He's here to make sure that he gets his portion of the pie. And that's why this had to pass, because if that didn't pass, then that means the SAVE Act wouldn't have passed already, And then he wasn't going to get his money. So, of course, he comes in, strutting around with whoever he's strutting around with to make it seem like, hey, by the way, I'm watching.
Right.
But it's funny how, we're paying for his weapons that in a war that Americans don't want. But on the other side, they talk about the mental health issues that we have here with mass shootings, but they want to blame the gun. But yet give this guy freaking missiles.
Right. Right. That is an amazing point.
So what exactly is going? Because we all know how this process works, right? He comes over here, he asks for money. We give him money, and then he turns around and gives that money back to us, to all of these, ammunition companies or whatnot, to get his money. And then those people are the ones that lobby into Congress using that same money to go in. And you see how the process works. So
some kind of complex I'm getting.
In this long, convoluted circle of life.
Right.
So it's the circle of strife, my producer said.
That's right. That's right. And then they go on, hi Beard. And then they go on and they have like this big old press conference with all the missiles, and you get out like your silver pen and you sign it. Isn't it pretty? Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh man. Well, anyways, I think we talked this into an oblivion. So let's go ahead and move on to our next story, which is United States District Court, Southern District. Oh, what is this? United States District Court, Southern District of Florida. Say that 3 times fast.
No.
All right.
I can't.
So, this is the United States of America versus Ryan Wesley Ruth. The attempted assassin, the second attempted assassin. Now we've all been hearing about this all last week. So I'm kind of done talking about what he did. But start going around like what's going on with his what's going on around him, all right? And some of the things that we've found out. So today, as soon as I scroll down here, they officially posted, the DOJ posted this letter right here. All right. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but there's one particular part of this letter that is rather concerning. Do you know which part it is, Biddy?
Oh, I see a dollar sign there.
What this one right here where it says, I will offer $150,000 to whoever can complete the job?
And okay. It gets me so hot because the amount of times that we've had, shootings and different things in this country, and they withhold the manifestos and things like that because they don't want that to get out, for various reasons, and probably a reason why I'm hot about them letting this out. Why let this out and kind of like advertise it as a want?
I don't know, but
not saying that that's what they did. I'm just saying that that's some crazy out there is going to take it that way.
Exactly. Now, when you look at all these other manifestos that have come out over the past couple of years, all right, what's the one thing they have in common is that they didn't show the manifesto until enough time has gone by.
Until the smoke cleared.
The smoke cleared. And they do this on purpose because they don't want anybody else to get any ideas on how to perform something like this next time, or to give subliminal messages out to certain people that you don't want having subliminal messages for.
Yeah, even though Netflix will make a whole feature film about it, but I digress.
Well, like cuties.
Right.
Oh, I could have a whole Netflix episode.
That could be a whole show.
That's a whole show.
Yeah.
Anyway, they offered $150K for anybody to finish the job, right? When was the last time the DOJ ever released a manifesto like this? I think the last time they allowed this to happen, I mean, I'm going to get into a couple of different examples here. But what does the DOJ have to gain from this?
When you have like so much in your head about why this is such a bad idea, it's very hard to think like objectively about like, what could be the right way, like, or what could be the reasoning for it. What do they think, like you said, to gain from it? I feel like Kamala now. I'm like restating the question. I'm not going to give an answer. Did I say that? Who said that? I'm sorry. But I don't know. Maybe they wanted to show, like that he did have some kind of like motive and, in his own words, kind of thing to kind of let everybody know that it was him. I don't know. I feel like I'm grasping for straws trying to figure out why, other than that this was just a terrible idea. Like, I don't know.
All right. So I think we got a post here from the Vigilant Fox on X. So, did it pop up? There we go. All right. So it says, Jesse Waters raises serious questions about Trump's would-be assassin. Number one, how was Ryan Ruth, a man with no money for child support, able to suddenly start living in a pricey house in Hawaii, probably Maui, and afford flights to Taiwan, Turkey, Poland, and Ukraine? All right. Number two, why was Ruth never served a day in jail when he has 100 different counts to his name? Why was Ruth's fiance, who just lost her job at Victoria's Secret, okay with him flying to Ukraine for months at a time? How was he able to feed himself in Ukraine when he only had $68 in his bank account? And everywhere he goes, he gets free press, from the local papers to the New York Times to Newsweek. The whole thing stinks, and it suggests that someone other than Ruth's fiance was supporting him.
Right. And I'm just going to go out on a limb here, but the salary working at Victoria's Secret, I doubt can pay for a trip cross country, let alone overseas.
I can barely afford a trip across country.
You know what I'm saying? Like I would like to go to the next state over, and I can't afford it. And I make pretty all right money.
Like, I want this guy's agent. Like, I want to know what job he has to where he's just getting paid to do all this stuff and not have to work a day in his life.
Yeah, and money that they can't even find in his bank account. So what is he? What is he like walking around with a bunch of cash? Is he got like gift cards? Like what?
See, this is the moment where I think that if you were going to be not an elected official, but if you're part of the agencies, this is where you would lie.
Yeah.
Because everybody, like 90% of America, is probably in that position. Maybe not 90, but you get my point.
Yeah,
so if we're all in that position, we all know we can't just get away with that.
Right.
Under any circumstance.
Right.
So how exactly do we, like, what is the end game here? All right. Now, if you're going to release paperwork like this, you know what? Here, I'm just going to do this. Let's talk about the El Paso shooter and the Dayton shooter. All right. And this is a statement from the FBI. All right. So attack in El Paso, Texas underscores continued threat to pose domestic violent extremists and perpetrators of hate crimes. The FBI supporting blah, 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 blah. But that's not the important part. The important part is down at the bottom. It says the FBI remains concerned that U.S.-based domestic violent extremists could become inspired by these previously high-profile attacks to engage in similar acts of violence. The FBI asks American public to report to law enforcement any suspicious activity observed by either person or online. So the biggest concern for the FBI is that releasing paperwork like this can allow violent extremists, whether it's left, right, north, south, whoever it is, to be inspired and to understand how they did this so that they can go and try to make it better or do it again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the difference there. I mean, I know we were talking about another thing, but like the difference between the first shooter assassination attempt and the second. The first one, they couldn't find anything on the internet. He didn't have like a presence. This next one, he was everywhere. He was on videos. he was, and the way he was talking was very radical for quite some time. So, why, if you're gonna create a situation, or not a situation, but like trust in the American people to come to you when they have information, so that way you can gather it up to do the best thing possible to keep everybody safe. Why haven't you been following this guy forever? And why haven't you done something ahead of time?
Yeah, and wasn't he in another BlackRock video, unlike someone else?
Yes. I guess it's just one of those coinkydinks.
Yep. No, just it's all coincidence. Everything's a coincidence. Everything that's happening now, everything from BlackRock all the way to Haley Williams doing this dumb thing where she's like, Trump's like agenda, and there's a guy holding a piece of paper right in front of her face. Don't think I didn't see that, Haley Williams. I used to like you. All right, I used to like you. Got a long way to go with me now. All right. Anyways, but yeah, it's just that there's all this craziness going on all across the country, and it's almost like we don't even have a leader to even say, stop that.
Well, didn't they have I forgot what it was called now, so don't kill me. I mean, you guys are probably used to me by now, but didn't they have like a recent meeting and Joe Biden was at the head of the table? Nobody said anything about can we talk about that? Like why Biden wasn't there to head up that meeting?
See, even I didn't even know that. See, who's giving the information right now?
No, but I'm just saying, like, all of this stuff just happens at once, and they know that it's all at once, so you can't focus.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am the acting president of the United States. Just kidding, FBI. Just kidding. All right. But anyways, so let's see this last piece here. So I went to Google, and the last thing I want to talk about is the Unabomber, because remember that situation where they couldn't figure out who he was or where. So Google's AI decided to assist me on this and said, I said the Unabomber and why the New York Times sued for the manifesto to be released. All right, because remember the DOJ and FBI back then did not want the manifesto released in the event that he decided to do something, more extravagant. But in the manifesto itself, it stated, let's see, Senator Package of the Times, 1955, a typed copy of the manifesto that wrote, threatening to kill again if Times didn't publish the manifesto.
Wow.
So number one, it's like, okay, you don't want us to release it, but if somebody else dies, it's going to be our fault. Like, no.
Right. And it's like it's that whole thing of like blaming the person, blaming the victims, and like even if it's like a whole bunch of people for the action of the person because you're speaking on it, because you're bringing attention to it.
Right. So the New York Times had to go to court in order to release that. But here's the problem. The FBI, and I keep saying the FBI, it's DOJ. The DOJ, all right, they broke 50 years of precedent. Cut off their nose, spite their face.
Why?
For what reason? Because just like the manifesto in Nashville, it was the same thing. They're like, you cannot release it because there's a lot of damaging evidence. We don't want people, just for all the reasons I just mentioned before, which is they don't want other people getting an idea that, this is okay and incite them to do the same type of violence somewhere else.
No. And also, where is he going to get $150,000 too? With
Bingo!
With the $68 in his bank account. Like, where? If somebody can please tell me where this money is falling from this guy, I would like to go out and be under that rain cloud. Because, like, something crazy is going on here.
Aaron said, I swear I saw that curtain move when you claimed to be president. Oh, they're just waiting for me to hit off air.
Right. Do you see like little feet underneath the curtain?
Yeah, right. You see like the door opening over here?
Yeah. That's why it's good to have that glow light so it picks up shadows.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so they broke 50 years of precedence. So, for what? Because now what you've done is all these court cases that you've had beforehand, you have literally just kicked them out.
Yep.
Because what's going to happen? How is that going to affect the next 100 years of court cases when it comes to manifestos? You really think if they come in now that they're going to say, "Oh, well, that was different, but this is no. You screwed yourself over." And now this is going to be used in every other case moving forward.
Now this is gonna sound a little nuts, and I probably be off base, but like, and this is saying that we can trust the mainstream media, but it would be great if they all came out and did like a class action lawsuit against the DOJ for not allowing them to do that all these years, and to make it like a thing, like why they did it now, so that way it forces them to say something.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but they won't.
Yeah,
they won't do it. The people at the top are too far in cahoots in order to allow something like that to happen. But what you've also done is you've allowed independent journalists who get this information. Now we're going to look at you and be like, oh, like,
right?
Are you serious? Like, oh, now you're going to tell me? Yeah, no. So you've and you can't take them to court over it, because now you have set the precedent. That's how a precedent works. All right, certain things change. Just like Chevron deference. The same thing with that. Things changed. They set it up in 1986, and 2023 was it? They changed it. They changed it because it was a bad idea. And this is just plain stupidity on the part of the DOJ.
So now going forward, God forbid, there is another kind of like, big, event, tragedy that happens. Are they just going to release it if there is one?
Well, now they have every right to release it.
Right.
Because you can't be the lawmaker and and break your own, I wouldn't say laws, but you can't break your own precedent.
You can't speak from both sides of your mouth, but like
exactly.
in action. Yeah.
So now
and if they don't, then we get to ask why, and there's more reason why we ask why.
Exactly. Because nobody's going to care at this point.
Right.
Yeah. So, but anyways, so if we're going to go into final thoughts here, so to end this particular case, I don't want to see another shooting. All right, that is that's number one, and that's clear from the get-go. Right. But in the event this happens again, that thing's going to come out so fast that nobody's going to know what to do, and we're going to start getting more information on these people before they get a chance to scrub their accounts or whatnot. And people are going to end up saving those on hard drives and selling them on the black market or something,
And the media won't have a chance to build their own narratives before, we get from the horse's mouth what their intentions were.
Exactly. So we all get that. So that was the whole point of that story. Now, going back to the SAVE Act, here's a timeline. So Massey calls on the SAVE Act. Johnson leaves it out to avoid government shutdown. It showed that in the act that they were going to have to take accountability if something like that happened. And I'm pretty sure, criminal charges or whatnot. And they weren't, not like it was going to happen,
Right. Well, because as you pointed out, there was just so much in it, that were tied to this piece of legislation they were trying to pass, that, he said, why are you like pushing all of this, and then right up into the end where we have to worry about a government shutdown if we don't, go through it? Why aren't you giving people enough time to go through this?
Exactly.
And why isn't it just one matter that we have to address?
Right. So So they didn't want to take accountability. Zelensky, shows his face, is trying to make sure he's going to get his money, But here's another point to this. Having Zelensky here, you imagine if the reason why they want to keep this going is because if they did add in the SAVE Act and it did pass, it also passes with the money to Ukraine to start World War III. So that was the trade-off. Republicans get SAVE, but the Dems get World War III.
Right. That's crazy. That's crazy, and that sounds like something that sounds. Unfortunately, that sounds very plausible, and it's on a smaller level, less people losing their lives. That's the kind of what they did with the border bill. It was like holding our border safety hostage unless we give money overseas. It's always the same story.
Right.
It's always a trade-off. It's like a sacrifice, kind of.
Exactly. And then last but not least, Johnson leaves this out to avoid a government shutdown. So of course, a lot of people were pissed off at him because of that. But if he did, they would have, or if it didn't happen, they would have blamed Republicans anyway. Even though Chuck Schumer would have been the one to blame, because then it falls onto his desk.
Right.
Because it's already been there for a year.
Right.
On its own, and he hasn't even touched it.
Right.
So
yeah. And then they go after the Republicans and Trump for stagnating the bill, saying like, oh, it could have been passed, but you wanted to hold it for political purposes. So why are you holding it?
Yeah, exactly. But they're holding it because of the political pressure in the inverse, knowing that it was a government shutdown, knowing that there's going to be veterans that need their pay, they're going to need their pensions, they're going to need the VA assistance, all this other stuff. Then you also know that it's right before an election. So how would that make them look?
Right. I wish there was a way that you can separate. I mean, it probably could never happen, and it probably would never happen, even if it was a possibility. But I wish there was a way that you can separate those kind of like government job spending from, Congress getting their money, because that would change a lot, because then they wouldn't be then they couldn't, get the tears from the everyday people that are just government workers, that will lose out on their money and say, we're all in this together. Like just kind of separate it, and it'd be just like the Congress, and that's it.
Can we all just get along?
Right. I'm just like you. I just have, very high priced, security with teams, and I get to go to like mansion parties and whatnot.
Exactly. Well, anyways, that was fun.
Yeah.
I'm glad I was able to get those two stories out the way.
No, these were great choices. There was, like you said earlier, there was a lot going on, and I think you did a great job as well as everybody, in the back, to highlight the ones that need to be talked about.
Yeah, I think it wasn't as much as there was a lot going on. There wasn't a lot going on, but there was a lot going on within those small stories.
That's true. Yeah.
So there was
the parts that are important that need to be highlighted. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
But yeah, so anyways, that does it for Sunset Rants. We're going to have our next episode on Wednesday. And don't forget about FAFO Fridays with Fluffy Hobo, where he comes in and he picks a random, weird dumpster fire of a topic and just goes off the rails. I mean, last Friday was absolutely hilarious.
Yes.
And I can't
but
wait
still
to
important.
see
like no matter how off the rails these things are, these still need to be talked about, because it's like, what the heck is going on?
Well, okay. So if you guys didn't know, if you look back into Sunset Rants on Rumble, he started off his inaugural episode with the death of porn stars. Yeah, so I'll let you take that with a grain of salt. But but there's also shorts every day.
Yes.
Regarding that stream.
Yes.
So please like, comment, subscribe, join the Discord.
Yep.
Get onto the website. Don't
Hit
forget-
that notification bell so you're always alerted every time we go live on this channel.
Exactly.
You'll never miss a moment.
Yep, and there's the website right there. Yep, riseofmiddleamerica.com.
It's a thing of beauty. I love it.
It is. And again, we also have the donation link down below. So please make sure that if you want to see some of the content like we did in Springfield, where we got over 40,000 views, we're looking to have a lot more views than that. So you want
Please
more
keep
content
donations
like
coming,
that, just make
because
sure
whiskey ain't cheap.
that yeah, this guy.
Yeah.
This guy. But anyways, thank you very much, and we will see you guys on Wednesday at 8:30 for the next rendition of Sunset Rants. Biddy.
God bless you guys. Thank you as always. Thank you, Roma. I love doing news with you, man. So thank you for having me, as always.
Absolutely. And we will see you on Wednesday. Peace.